all the developments that we are seeing in artificial intelligence is perhaps the most important because it's not just only about automating our operations and business functions, but it also covers the area of cyber risk that all of us are today inflected towards. And particularly in BFSI as a sector, it becomes as much more damaging, to be using artificial intelligence in that sense. So therefore, we have a great panel here of, people from BFSI, from startups and organizations who are doing some great work in BFSI. They're adopting AI as well, but they are also treading it very carefully as to how they want to make sure that they want to give the AI convenience to customers, but not by putting them at risk. So we're going to have this discussion as to, how is it that they are planning to build their business with AI and adopt AI and create a more meaningful relationship of AI for everyone. So I'm going to start with Ashwin here. So Ashwin, at InCred, you're sort of adopting new AI in the system. But, how are you using the data of your customers through AI in a better way so that you're able to give them as well as your organization the maximum benefit of those AI analytics that you are deploying in the system? And do you think based on the data analysis and the reports that you get, they are sufficient for you to proceed with your strategy? Or does some kind of human intervention is required on top of that in order to achieve better results or the right results that you're looking at?
Is it working? Yeah, let me quickly first introduce InCred and what we do. So InCred Finance is a diversified, multi-product, risk-first, technology-first NBFC. Our portfolio is now 12,000 crores, close to 12,000 crores, and we're profitable. Our culture is very frugal. This first 9 months, our profits have been over 380 crores. So we built the company. We were born in 2017, and over the last 7-8 years, we have built it carefully with the ethos of risk first and technology as a key differentiator, right? So now to come to your question, we were born on the cloud. We operate on the cloud. We don't have any on-premise infrastructure. Now when we're lending, the way we have always done it, especially for our unsecured personal loan portfolio, is use machine learning models. So I would differentiate. If you think about AI as supervised and unsupervised learning, we have been using supervised learning, which is you first make a heuristic and then say, based on this heuristic, I'm going to lend to this cohort. And then I will get feedback loop on who paid me back and who did not. And using those feedback loops, you can continuously optimize to disproportionately select the good customers who will pay you back, right, and get better and better at eliminating the customers who are higher risk, right? So our business is that of rejection. Depending on the various products we have, our approval rates can be anywhere between 1% to 10%. So we are rejecting 90% of the customers who apply, right? So we tend to be very careful. So we use lots of sophisticated machine learning models using bureau data, using banking data, where the customers are submitting their banking data so we can see their cash flows. We are also able to see lots of alternative data. Example, telco data, GPS stability data, and so on. It's all kind of built into the model, and then it makes a probabilistic prediction of what is the risk, inherent risk in this customer. And we are making statistical bets at a cohort level. So we don't need to be individually right, but we need to be right enough at a statistical level, at a statistically significant level at cohort. So that's what we've been doing, and we've been very successful at it. Now, and the other thing I would say is, we are also not religious about everything has to be no manual intervention, no human in the loop. Right. There are certain products, the ticket size is bigger, the tenure can be longer. We do even 5 crore loans, 1 crore loans and so on. So there we are perfectly fine with get the human to evaluate, and there are lots of signals that the human being adds in terms of additional predictive power. Now we are attacking that space as well with generative AI, where we are now collecting so much documents from customers. Can we make it easier for the human in the loop? So think of it as before, it used to be a workflow where there is sales who has collected the data, then there is a credit manager who is now opening up all the documents, scrutinizing it, kind of forming a mental model of what is the inherent risk of this customer. Can I reduce the friction? Can I extract all the data from all these documents, organize it in an intuitive manner in the UX, and then make them feel in front of a cockpit? They have all the information which has come to them, and they're able to take a faster decision. So increased productivity is what we are now going for. Sure. But hopefully kind of that tells you our journey of and differentiates between what we have used so far and what we are working on, and there's lots of POCs in this space in terms of increased productivity. Sorry,
Sure.
Was there a question you had which I've forgotten to answer?
No, I think we're getting there. But I'm going to jump into you again, but let me put Dr. Anand also over here. So Dr. Anand, I mean, when we talk about generative AI and its use in the marketing department, particularly we're seeing a great amount of growth over there. And when I talk about human agents versus virtual agents, you're putting chatbots, those chatbots are talking to your customers, to your users. Now, do you feel that, I mean, as an organization or, at larger in your role, are you satisfied with the kind of results that you're getting out of it? Or do you think that what a chatbot is doing is only, let's say, 60% of the work or 70% of the work, and then how do you make sure that the rest of the 30% is also what is remaining is also given to the customer as desired?
Okay, yeah, good question. Thank you, Ritu. Good afternoon, all. So myself, Anand Mahalingam, I work for Digit Insurance. We are into general insurance and life insurance. And Ritu, question is about, are you satisfied with the chatbot generally in tech? And how far it is useful? Are we solving the core problems, or it is just a welcoming or one-touch kind of solution? So I feel definitely yes, a strong yes. Maybe the initial days when we started chatbot and all, it may be the case where we just try to give a handshake with the customer just to say that, no, okay, what's your name and what is your basic details, and then pass it on to the agents or something. Now things have improved much more, and then with the introduction of GenAI, first of all, it is powered up chatbot like anything. And we start, maybe the technology evolved in such a way that, people talked about RAG, retrieval augmented generation. And you can have your entire knowledge base at the back end, and then you ask questions and it goes and then check the information and come back to you and then give you the answers. And then things have gone much faster. I think yesterday OpenAI has released GPT 4.5. And GPT 4.0 and 4.5, they are adding much more capabilities. Similarly, I'm not only OpenAI I'm talking about, the entire LLM world, the generative AI world, they are coming out with the new large language models. So that helps in not just answering a question to reasoning level. And then you can do the tech world, the tech AWS and then Azure, they call this here as an age of agentic. In a large language model, the next talk of the town is an agentic LLM. How we can make use of agent to do our job. It is not only one-to-one chat or something. You can keep some 3 to 4 agents for completing your job. One agent will understand your question. Second agent will go and fetch the database information, go and fetch some of the information related to the customer. And third agent will see that, what is the relevance, and then produce. So you can orchestrate the kind of how a complex question raised by the question customer can be answered through these generative AI. Things are going in that level. And then why it is growing? One is you have the technical capabilities. Second one is the customer expectation also gone up, right? And then the product offerings, the companies like InCred and other companies, like the product is so much. And then we need to see then what is the right kind of, within among my portfolio, what is the right product suits for the customer. So for that, I need to play around with the different variables, and then I need to check the customer interest and everything. For that, definitely tech is going to play a role. Otherwise, the kind of scale what we need to do, the kind of personalization what we need to do for the customer, definitely generative AI is helping. That's my answer.
No, that's certainly a good thing. But coming on to you, Yogesh, so how do you think Gen AI has actually helped you in terms of operations delivery? How is, do you find that this digital transformation, particularly in claims management, is something that you have been able to achieve just the way you wanted it, or probably in a more human environment? How sort of similar is it in an AI environment?
Hello. Yeah. So let me first introduce myself and where I work. So I'm Yogesh, one of the founder at OnSurity. OnSurity is basically providing health care and health insurance benefits to SME corporates and businesses. So typically again, my experience works across working with different insurers over the last 14, 15 years. So with the advent of the Gen AI and the effective implementation of it, we are actually seeing a complete transformation that is happening. It's like a complete geo movement in insurance vertical. Before it, everything was like a digital transformation projects that were happening. Now it's more about AI transformation project. Coming to claims process. So typically the background of insurance as a world was always very rigid, structured way of decision-making process where most of the systems during the digital transformation age was built on rule engines. So you go code rules and effectively that's how the workflows were always ran. However, with the Gen AI thing, it's more about machines taking most of the decisions or enabling humans to take decisions. Typically, when we talk about claims, and this is before Gen AI, there were OCR engines that were available, but then categorizing, reading all the hospital bills or any kind of a prescription, then understanding those particular part, we always go back, set rules, and sometimes it becomes extremely difficult because as soon as a new hospital gets created, their systems gets new, it becomes very, very tedious to do it across. Now with the Gen AI implementation, a structured or a simple OCR actually help the machine to completely translate the information. The entire layer of transforming the data into a structured format is much more easier because of the LLMs that are there. And this actually is pushing to an age where the customer or the hospital, as soon as the claim gets raised, automatically the payment will happen because then you would not be requiring humans to see many number of documents. Those documents will get structured or is getting structured and automatically key parameters are just flashed, and if it's below a threshold limit, even the human is not required, it's automated. So in our case, if it's a less than a lakh rupee thing, it's purely automation. It's a green channel, what we call it across. And if all the key parameters are ticked, so this is how we are looking at our claims process. There are as Doc was mentioning, there were as soon as the agentic transformation will start happening across, we are sure that the level of the human intervention on claims and ops will get significantly reduced.
Sure. So let me ask you a common question, so particularly how are you establishing guardrails, cybersecurity being as big a concern as it is in BFSI. So, how do you sort of address security concerns of the users? How do you sort of adhere to the regulatory environments that are today imposed on BFSI? So, how do you make sure that with the advent of AI into the systems, all this is managed?
So I will just take the regulatory one because that is something very critical, and the regulatory landscape specifically in insurance world needs to evolve more faster now because see today what we need to provide to the regulator at any given point of time, that when a decision is made, at what parameter the decision has been made, whether that's those decisions or the data that had been used for coming out of the decision was unbiased and favorable for the customer. It should not be like no, aggressive or basically unprotecting the right of the customer. So creating the right way of audit trail of the decision making framework where how that particular decision had been taken, and because we need to be always ready to justify it out. That is one part. However, as soon as in our side of the world, in the insurance side of the world, the AI agentic framework will be capable of taking underwriting decisions and will be capable of taking even designing insurance products on the fly. That is the area which is extremely tightly regulated, that if you are creating an insurance product, you need to file it with the regulator, you need to have these guardrails, there's a pre-mechanics approval process. It will be interesting way to see that how that particular landscape will get changed for, because whether regulators will be open for making that particular kind of a thing, or they will just open that in certain kind of a code, might be let's say for a very large businesses coming across, just not putting it out for the retail customers. So these are the things on the regulation side. Yeah, I will, you can take up the cyber one.
Yeah, I can add to the regulatory side. In fact, the advent of Gen AI and the agentic frameworks, we are actually addressing some of the regulatory concerns. For example, the regulators were concerned about when you're getting an incoming query. We used to have a human classify it as it's a query or it's a complaint.
Right.
So there is a question on what's to stop the human from under-reporting complaints, right? So we now for every incoming query, we are running it through Google's Gemini, and it is now looking for intent, looking for customer sentiment, and doing a very good job of classifying it. So it's a simple classifier, but much more sophisticated, where it's also able to look at sentiment. So now we are able to say, look, the human is also labeling it, but we now also have an automated classifier. That increases confidence. Second, in terms of cybersecurity, InfoSec, we now have, so for example, most cybersecurity attacks are because of phishing attacks on an employee within the organization. So we're now able to run monthly simulation campaigns with sophisticated phishing emails that we are generating and sending, and we're able to come up with so many templates very quickly, and we've really raised the bar in terms of employee awareness. So that's something which is again helping in terms of cybersecurity and InfoSec. That's on the regulatory front. There was the second part of your question. Can you repeat that?
Yeah, so this was the guardrails that are we are putting in terms of making sure that the customers sort of don't feel security when they are sort of interacting with a bot or a virtual agent.
Got it. Yeah, I mean, one of the big guardrails we have is right now 40% of our incoming traffic is handled by a bot. But there is always a button saying, hey, please let me talk to a human. So that they don't run into a wall where it's responding with a hallucination and we don't let them get their queries resolved. So we always have that, and we're very mindful of the customer experience. The other thing I would say is it's very easy to fall into the trap of here's technology and it's a silver bullet. It never is. You have to marry the technology with people and good processes, and you have to audit it. Yes. So we have monthly audits, monthly health commentaries and reviews, where we look at the data and we marry it with the anecdotes. And if there are problems, we are able to quickly address it. So those I would say are or some of the guardrails
Sure.
you're using?
Okay, sure. Go on.
Yeah, on this similar line, I think Ritu's question, if I'm understanding correctly, how are we ensuring, like, how are we putting a guardrails in any organization when you're adopting AI in your workflow? So that is the core question, right? So we all need to worry about. We cannot move away from adopting the technology. We need AI. Now it has become very important to get AI to have your business reach a different heights. But how do you ensure? So guardrails, why do we need? For example, you are running, it can be a machine learning model, or it can be a deep learning model, or it can be generative AI models also. Let us say for simplicity, let us take a machine learning model. Machine learning model, when you deploy, try to deploy, it is no more, we should be happy saying that, no, I have a machine learning model, it will give me a prediction saying that whether to have the customer or not, to give them a loan or not, to give them insurance or not. We need to ensure, like, because we are answerable, because that's what all the regulatory act, not only regulatory, the AI ethics, or EU Act, or DPDP, India Act, everything it says that, no, it has to be fair, transparent, fairness should be there should be no biases to that. So that way we need to see that, like, how I am making that machine learning models. So if any machine learning model, there are some characteristics, right? Opacity, how much I am able to understand the model, the results what it is giving. The complexity, am I able to understand the machine learning model fully or only partially? It is very difficult to understand a person, how it is working. And then reproducibility, is it giving me a consistent results, or every time it gives different results, then I cannot rely on that. So these parameters we need to see, and then we need to see then adaptability, how I am able to adopt the results of it. So these characters we need to see. And then say that, okay, I saw that, yes, it's up to a level, I'm able to handle all these things. Then how I know that, like, what result it is producing? Is it, away from the biases or something? Let us say you are checking the credit score, income, gender, race, and then zip pin code. And these are all the 5 variables you are building in a machine learning model. And then machine learning model has given some results to you. And then we need to understand, saying that there are techniques available, which aspect of the variable has contributed to the result. And what basis among the 5 variables, which variable has contributed for the result? Is it like income and credit score? It's okay because we need to be profitable. We cannot, but it should not be biased towards any gender, or it should not be biased towards any pin code or something, right? So that way, what we need to do is, like, we need to see the demographic parity. We need to say that, no, we need to divide it into multiple group and the result, and then see that, no, the demographic parity is going below 80%. Then we need to say that, like, there is a parity, and then we need to arrange the data set appropriately so that, like, everybody gets an equal opportunity. There are machine learning models like Lime, Shape. These are all the techniques by which we will understand, saying that, no, what is that variable giving me the decision making points. So on the algorithmic level, we need to see that. And data set, by labeling the data set, errors can happen. If I look at the historical data, traditionally we have been doing mistake. If the same data, if I am putting into the machine learning, we will continue to have that mistake, right? So we need to see that, no, there is no historic bias is there. There is no algorithmic bias. There is no sample bias. There is no labeling bias. All these things we need to be very careful. These are the technical side of it. Over and above, definitely you need to have an AI governance set up. As an organization level, you are running 15 models or 50 models, you need to have a governance mechanism. Say that, no, we need to review it periodically, saying that, no, there is no mistakes are happening. Audit should happen. Each and every model should have audit logs. That way we know that, no, even somebody is asking what basis it, we should be able to give an answer saying, no, such and such parameter, this has been decided. So that kind of things ensure. Why we need to do that? Because once you give that, now, when you do this kind of sophisticated things, people will start building a trust on your model. Once the trust is happening, people will buy more. When you buy more, like we are able to, for example, we wanted to increase the credit to the lot of people who they need. And then we need to provide an insurance, whatever healthcare services. We need to take it to the masses. The country like in India, we need to take these kind of facilities, what the entrepreneurs are coming out, what the government is coming out, the facilities should reach the society. For that, only the technology is possible to take scale up. So that way, once we put the AI governance in place, and then all the technologies, definitely we can be confident to adopt technology and scale.
Sure. Happy to take some questions also from the audience, but before that, I'll continue with one bar of my question is that Obviously now all AI models are LLM and they're based on understanding and learning from the data itself. And considering that data is also one of the most important aspects of your business and also one of the most vulnerable aspects of your business. So how do you ensure that the data breach does not happen in this entire process? There are no hacks. I mean, we've seen some major hacks happening across the world, whether it was in hospitality or hospitals or banks or, retail chains. So how do you make sure that eventually whatever data AI is sort of reading to learn also does not become go at risk? So what kind of guardrails are you putting for that?
Yeah, I mean, what we've done is, I mean, for all things kind of infosec, protecting your data, we need to have a framework. If you don't have a framework, then very easily you can have over investments in some area and you can have lots of weak links in other areas. So what we use is what we call 6 golden signals. One is the first you need to kind of write down what are all your you can crowdsource this. What we call it is the technology risk management. So what are all the vulnerabilities in the stack, and write it all down. And if there was no mitigant, what would be the inherent risk? And given what is the mitigant that we can put in, and what is the residual risk? So you need to have a risk register, and you need to look at this on a continuous basis. That's one. Second, you need to look at what is the regulatory laws of the land, and what is your compliance status against those. For example, you need to preserve data for a certain amount of time. You need to have very clear audit trails for every database entry or database change you've made, who made it, and why was that change done. So you need to be continuously auditing whether you're compliant with the laws of the land. Third is employee security awareness. You need to be running campaigns continuously to teach employees about what are the ways in which we can get infiltrated, and run phishing campaigns, simulations, etc. So that's so over time we get better and better in terms of most attacks. By the way, this is data. I think over 80% of the attacks that happen is because of someone falling prey to a social engineering attack. Then next, it's not enough to put in some guardrails and controls. You need to review the status of those controls. How is it performing? So you need to have kind of some governance reviews where you're continuously reviewing how those controls are performing, and use those controls to, use learnings from those governance reviews to drive continuous improvement. Fifth, you need to have a log of, you need to adopt an attitude of, it is not a question of if, it is a question of when. It is now, these are all distributed systems. There are so many ways to get in. At some point, something will occur. So you need to have a very clear log of all the security incidents that are happening, and then preserve the outcome. Was it detected and mitigated? Was it detected and was there leakage or any other outcome? And then use that to continuously drive improvement, like I said. Finally, you need to have playbooks. So there is very clear regulatory requirements in terms of if there is an incident, you cannot be running around like headless chicken. You need to have very clear playbooks. RBI, for example, requires us to report incidents within 6 hours. There is a clear qualifying criteria of what is considered reportable. So within 6 hours, you then need to log into a portal and report the incidents and fill out a questionnaire. Right. So then you need to have very clear playbooks on who is going to play what role to then mitigate and safeguard the data. So there's no perfect answer, but I think the framework and then the realization that this is a journey and you need to marry technology with people and processes is what I would say is critical to kind of make this work.
So let me ask you this, Dr. Anand, that he mentioned about audits being very important, just to make sure that AI is performing to its optimum. And then AI itself is a learning tool, correct? So it keeps on learning as it does more of it. I mean, if I was to just take like a ballpark, how much intelligence do you think month on month the AI itself acquires when it is, attending to customer or user queries or everything? So, basis on this audit, have you been able to establish that, AI is wiser than what it was last month?
You are talking about how much the machine learning models or AI models are able to learn on its own.
Correct.
Based on
Yeah.
the incremental data compared to
Yeah,
last month
based
and
on
this
the
month or something.
incremental use of that
Use
tool.
of that. Definitely it happens. It depends upon the what kind of models it is. It's in a supervised model, then we need to manage, manually curate the data. If it's an unsupervised model and open up the entire backend database, it learns. And then generative AI, though it is totally a different way it works. It's like, smashes everything. And then it learns on its own way and then looks for the data and then comes out. So that way, because we are talking about an AI, Ashwin covered most of the points saying that how data related. I think data should be a base for any organization. Though many people, we wanted to see that different industries, manufacturing and healthcare, they wanted to get into the latest tech. I wanted to get into the AI. I wanted to get into Gen AI. And then it will be tempting for us to get into that. Oh, it is doing good. But if I do that, bits and pieces, it will never work. Maybe it will solve that particular one use case. But until unless you have a robust data backbone, saying that it has to be like, how I am collecting the data from the customers, how I'm storing it, and then how I'm organizing and keeping it. We have a big topic like data warehousing, data lake, how I am keeping and all those things, data governance and everything. So big organization need to build that first. On top of it, you can easily play around with what kind of models, AI models, ML, DL, all those things. So that way data becomes the backbone of any AI solutions, and that's where the quality starts.
Sure. Happy to take a couple of questions from the house. We're now short of time, so I'll just have room for one or two questions right now. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Ethi. I'm a product manager at Microsoft. I have a very basic question. So if we talk about the insurance industry, claim frauds are on the rise, right? So now with AI coming in, how do you think that AI can actually add value in red flagging some of those fraud claims? Have we thought about that? And if yes, what's the thinking around that?
So basically, or finding fraud in the claims, a lot of machine learning models had been developed in the past, and as it was always like a supervised models that we need to implement. Now, and again, it was always like you see 50 parameters, 60 parameters. Was the rule of land before Gen AI stuff. Now with this, it's like kind of a model that is getting built up or what is getting trained and where the results are coming across, where the predictability score of that particular model is reasonably high, and where we are seeing it out that the error rates have fallen down significantly lower. So it's basically because in the past what we were doing it out, first, the model will tell, the machine learning model will tell what is the probability of this claim being a fraud. And then a human will again validate it out. But with the new thing, you would not require human. It just for the regulatory purpose, we just need to put a human being to just validate and cross-check.
You're right. And
Sure.
more than that, I think it is not only the machine learning models, right? We are talking about the multi-models, thanks to OpenAI and Microsoft as well. And now we have come out with the next level of LLMs, which will not only, there no need of doing any feature extraction. Generally what we do, we try to build the features, handcrafted features or automatic feature. Deep learning may automatically, we extract the features, and then you need to see that features you need to build into model, and then model will give you a prediction. Now you just give the raw data, raw input, not only the textual data, it has gone to the next image data, and it has gone to the video data. Just give the video data directly to the large language model. Now it is doing all the stuff, and then it is doing the reasoning part. Why such and such thing has happened or what is happening. It is doing the reasoning. So it has gone to the next level of thing. So it is up to us how we need to, what stage we need to integrate into our workflows.
Sure. Any final sort of word from your side, Ashwin?
On her question.
Or generally on AI and BFSI?
Yeah, I mean, on her question, I mean, some of the use cases we see is we do student loans. So we see tampered certificates, extremely well tampered certificates, and probably Gen AI based certificates where is one. We see tampered bank statements where with false credit and income. Then we also see, so that's individual fraud. So we are trying to get, it's an arms race. We are continuously trying to get better at identifying those. We just need to be, so that's one. We are also now beginning to see increasing incidents of syndicate fraud. So organized syndicates with significant kind of financial resources who then are operating to pump in fake applications with tampered data. They look really good to our models. And so suddenly you can see, you can feel like you are getting a lot of good customers, and before you know it, you would have lent to a lot of customers. So we now have divergence models. So suddenly if the distribution pattern of variables are changing, we now have kind of shut down circuit breaker logic to stop lending in certain areas, allow a human to investigate, and then open it back up, and so on. So this is kind of an arms race which you have to keep investing. So, but it's fascinating to see some of these use cases and see how to kind of come up with countermeasures for sure.
Yeah. And so my final question is that is the deployment of AI a cost side, or eventually, or currently, is it just a cost side? And do you think in the future it will actually be beneficial to you in terms of bringing that extra revenue which might be required? Or will it continue to just be a cost side?
Already it is. I think it is embedded nowadays. No business can, particularly business things, any business I can say, any business they are into, currently it is, we cannot divide between the core business, this is my IT and then business, so it is already been integrated. And then over and above, how we can maximize the benefits, how we can maximize the scalability aspects, definitely you need to have this AI. So I think already it has been there. Maybe the measurements, exact analytics and what percentage, how it has attributed to my success and all those things, that measurement maybe we are lagging. But otherwise I feel like, most of the companies, the new age companies, digital native companies the services are already been integrated. It is already producing results. That's my view.
I think it's not about cost or simply revenue enhancement. From a founder's lens, it's basically, if you will not do it, your competition will come and disrupt it out like anything. And so definitely an investment needs to be made. Culture needs to be changed from the organization perspective. Team needs to be motivated on how and every aspects where you can actually adopt AI. Otherwise, it's basically the survival, and things are moving extremely fast. And the problem in the BFSI sector that things are moving fast, technologies are moving fast, and then also at the same time you will have regulations to look upon, which may not change so fast with the kind of the change in the overall technology landscape, AI landscape. So that is where, from the organization perspective, leadership perspective, a fine balance needs to be maintained, that you need to go deep into the AI, but at the same time put a lot of control so that whenever there is a regulatory audit that happens, you will be able to justify how those particular decision-making framework had happened. Otherwise, how we are looking at it might be what things that had taken like a 50 team to develop it out, it's getting shipped like almost like within 10 days with the use of AI. So that is where it's not now cost, it's basically the survival stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you an example on kind of enhancing revenue. We have now proven, we now know so for good customers, the green channel he spoke about, we now know how much units of extra conversion we can get for every step in the journey that we can remove. So that is a clear revenue driver.
ROI, yeah.
Then on the collections front, so RBI mandated video KYC. So we now actually are mandated to talk to customers and do video calls, right? So we're now experimenting with, because we don't want examples of customers saying, hey, this is missold to me, you did not tell me some terms and conditions. So it's in 40 seconds, you can actually explain the loan terms very quickly to the customer, possibly extract confirm that, hey, I promise to pay this back. In case there are delinquencies, can you send AI generated videos using those snippets, reminding the customer, hey, you made a promise to pay, and so on. So there are lots of interesting ideas to kind of play with and see where it goes. So and then of course costs, very clearly in the SDLC pipeline, we're seeing lots of opportunities for just making ourselves more efficient. There is never enough engineers to build all the stuff.
Certainly. No, I think right now, of course, still early days of AI and BFSI, but I think with what you have shared today in this panel, it's clearly the way to be. And overall, the ROI of deployment of AI in BFSI will see far-reaching effects than the cost itself, as you mentioned. So thank you very much for joining us, gentlemen, and for this lovely talk. I think what you've all said in terms of how AI is being systematically used in BFSI sector, keeping all the regulations and the guardrails in mind, I don't think we'll have a big problem talking to a robot as we have to a human sometimes. So thank you once again.